Hello friends, this is Vishal from Motivation by Vishal Modi. Welcome back to my channel. And as you all are aware that Mental Awareness Month is going on, and so we also thought of spreading some love and positivity in the air. And what's better than interviewing a clinical psychologist, an alternative modalities healer, a certified hypnotherapist, someone who is certified, who has degree from King's College London in mental health. Yes, today we have Senia Parucha from Ahmedabad who owns Holistic Solutions, and we are going to talk about de-stressing. We are going to talk about how to get release out of anxiety, the pain and suffering from heartbreak, or uplifting your mood. So today we have got none other than Senia Barucha in our studio, and we are going to talk one to one, something emotional, something intelligent, something which, if you gonna practice, then going to uplift your mood for sure. So let's welcome Zinia. Uh, as we all know that this month, the May month, is celebrated as a Mental Health Awareness Month. So I thought, let me do a conversation, a talk, something which is intelligent, and for to aware the people around about mental health. So as you know, the situation, the crisis is going on, and people are not feeling good about themselves. Okay, people are not going feel good about the nature, the environment, the way this corona thing is treating them. So tell me, how do you advise, what do you suggest to stay people out from the stress, stay motivated, feel good?
Okay. Thank you, Vishal, for first of all for inviting me. And your question is an excellent question in this current situation. A lot of people have been feeling more stressed, more anxious. As a matter of fact, research and stats is showing that the number has doubled up. So people who were earlier feeling stress, it's doubled at right now. So owing to this current situation, how can we help ourselves not feel the stress, or how can we help ourselves feel more relaxed, is to engage in more activities that bring about a lot of positivity. So engage in, more of exercise. If you can't get outside, at least do a lot of indoor, house exercises. Help your family members out in housework. Engage in a lot of mindfulness based activities also. So by mindfulness based activities, just do like 10 minutes of breathing exercises, a little bit of yoga. For people who who like to do a lot of drawing and art based work, go ahead, draw in a mandala. Do something that engages your brain in, and as a result relaxes it, instead of making it think constantly about the current situation, and instead of making you stress out, engage your brain in such a manner that it can get more involved in more productive things. I feel that way it will help each one of us feel less stressed.
Yeah, you said something which is so true, and I keep myself engaged in doing things, and I do meditation daily. I practice meditation, and I also do physical exercise. I do running at home, so at
That's
least,
excellent.
yeah, so it releases that dopamine in your body, which makes you feel good.
Absolutely.
Yes, yes.
Absolutely.
Now, you are a certified hypnotherapist, clinical hypnotherapist. Would you please focus some light, throw some light on
That's right.
what is this hypnotherapy?
Yes. So basically, what I practice is integrated clinical hypnotherapy. It's the Western form of hypnosis. which is very different to the Eastern form of hypnosis. The Eastern form of hypnosis is the one that we see in TV shows, in movie theaters, where a hypnotherapist, if they just move a pendulum around you, they can control you. But that is not the case here. This is done for clinical purposes. One, it's done for therapeutic purposes. And over here, the client is the one who has 100% control. So if you are a vegetarian and, I as your therapist tell you that, Vishal, you'll start eating non-veg, that will not happen over here because you have complete control. Instead, what we do is in integrated clinical hypnotherapy is to relax an individual. So we reach a state of mind which is like the alpha, like the beta state, which relaxes a person, and then we provide positive suggestions that can be easily taken in by a person's subconscious mind, because the subconscious mind occupies 90% of capacity within each one of us. But there is no person who is able to utilize all of this. Through hypnotherapy, we can at least utilize around 5 to 6% and help ourselves relax in even better, even faster. Because all our problems, all that stress, all that anxiety, all of us who tend to feel depressed or low or down, it's all stored in the subconscious mind. So the more we work with this, the better it's going to give out results.
So is this hypnotherapy only to cure the ailments, or it also helps in maybe achieving more, right? Getting better of yourself, improving self-improvisation.
Right.
So does it help in that as well?
It helps in that immensely. Hypnotherapy is not just connected with resolving issues or ailments. It's very much connected for your own self growth and progress. It's very good to bring in more focus and concentration. I've had and dealt with a lot of students who've used hypnotherapy to improve their academic performance. I've dealt with colleagues and work employees who use it to increase their productivity in their work sector. So hypnotherapy can be used for a lot of areas in your life, ranging from mental health, physical well-being, emotional balance, improving your relationships, improving your communication, of course, diseases and issues, but focusing better, concentrating, growing better. So it can be used absolutely for anything.
So what it goes like, patient or maybe an individual needs to take a session. So they are divided into sessions, or how it works?
So basically, an individual can take in a session first, a preliminary session. This preliminary session is taken to check how fast a person's mind is cooperating with the positive suggestions we are giving, and to also check what all is stored inside the mind. Before the preliminary session, we as hypnotherapists, we take something which is known as a case history. So a case history contains all the details connected with the person, ranging from their childhood to their medical history to their family history, all of that. This gives us more clarity on how a person's personality is, how do they respond, react, what are the stored up traumatic incidents and events. And then we go ahead with the preliminary session. After the preliminary session, we usually give our clients, a sort of an approximate number of sessions that, yeah, you might probably need around 5 to 6, or you might need around 3 to 4, depending on what the issue is. Because in hypnotherapy, unlike traditional counseling or unlike other techniques like CBT or many more, because hypnotherapy works with the subconscious, it gives out faster and more deeper results. I'm not against any of the traditional therapies. I use them as well. They're very effective, but they work massively with the conscious mind, the logical part. So the chances of bringing in efficacy are a little slower through these techniques.
Now, Zinia, tell me, what is the difference between normal sadness and depression? I think the word depression is very loosely used in today's time. You ask anyone, the youth, the teenagers, they will say that, yeah, I'm depressed, right? So are they really depressed, or are they, exaggerating things, their problems? They have not got good score, or maybe the, you know, some relationship issues. So they say that I am under depression. So what's the difference between sadness and depression?
This is an excellent question, Vishal, because a lot of people don't have clarity about this. And like you rightly said, depression is a term that's very loosely used. So the difference between the two is massive, actually. Sadness is what most of us have felt at some or the other point of time in our life. And this intensity of sadness also varies. A lot of us tend to misperceive being sad or being upset as being depressed, which is different. So there are two massive bodies in mental health. One is Diagnostic Statistical Manual, and the other one is also present. These two are the ones that have defined depression. So according to them, a person has to have at least 4 or more of the following symptoms for a continuous of at least 2 months or more in order to be considered as clinically depressed, such as feeling low, dull, down, having a loss of appetite, getting differences or changes in your sleeping pattern, not feeling motivated or encouraged to, carry out work, losing your focus and concentration, and many more. A person needs to experience at least 4 in order to be called as depressed for a continuous of 2 months. If a person is
Okay.
experiencing this, only then are they clinically depressed, which is not the case for most of us. Most of us tend to experience ups and lows, and positives and negatives with every passing day, and we loosely term this as depression, which is wrong, because people who are clinically depressed are unable to even get out of their bed in the morning. It is that intense, it is that bad. So I hope that no one experiences this.
Great. Thanks for such a clear distinction between what is sadness and depression, so people can make out that whether they are really clinically depressed
Absolutely.
or not. Yes, thank you. One more thing: can a person come out from a depression without seeing a therapist, or let's say without taking medicines at all?
I will be very honest with you. It really depends on the intensity of depression the person is facing. One, what is the personality of the individual? Two, and what is the duration since when they've already been experiencing it. So, if the intensity of them feeling depressed is relatively low, there is a higher chance of them being able to help themselves out. However, the other two factors, that is the personality of the person and the duration that they've experienced this, also matter. So by personality, I mean that if by nature you're someone who tends to worry a lot, or if by nature you're someone who is more on the negative side of thinking, you're more pessimistic, then the chances are that you will find it a little bit more difficult to come out of depression by yourself. I don't mean to discourage anybody. There are a lot of good resources that you can use, like self-help books, self-help exercises, meditation, and a lot more that can help you out. But it really depends on your conditioning, the way you have been perceiving life. And the third factor, that is the duration. This matters a lot, because even if you've been experiencing depression and the intensity is low, but you've been experiencing it for a good now 6 months or 9 months, then again it can get relatively a little bit more difficult to come out of it by yourself, which is why in such cases, seeking help, visiting a therapist, talking with your loved ones, using again self-dependent measures really helps a person get and recover much faster.
Does this depression comes back, like if you are out of it and let's say 6 months, a year down the line, and then there is a fear that it will come down again? Does it happens with
Uh,
depression also?
there is a chance of depression relapsing back within an individual, but it depends on the sort of treatment or the way that it has been dealt with. So even for depression, usually it's observed that a person tends to feel depressed most of the times because they feel helpless, or there is a lack of control, over certain aspects that they cannot manage.
I would like to know that there is one fear among people, among the individuals, that the medicines will have the side effects. So they believe that I'll get addicted to this kind of medicine, so I will not take it. People are averse of taking medicines or going to a therapist. So is that true? Should they avoid taking medicines if they are not feeling good or they are feeling depressed or something?
Right. Um, I would be very honest about this as well. As someone who's worked in the field of mental health, I've worked massively with, I've worked in an inpatient center, so I've worked with depressed people, I've worked with schizophrenics as well. It really depends what sort of issue you are subjected to. When it comes to depression, if the intensity is severe, then definitely medication can help. But there are a lot of more holistic approaches, or a lot more safer ways around this also. So while you do take medication, also resort to taking therapy, working around with yourself, adopting these more holistic positive approaches, because this way your body will not get addicted to that medication so fast. Because let's face it, every medicine does have a side effect somewhere or the other at some point of time. However, the dosage, the way it's taken, how long it's taken, all of that also has a lot of effect. So I'm not against medication in any way, but whilst you are taking that, I would suggest also adopt these very effective ways.
Can we practice hypnotherapy on ourselves? Can we learn and then we can do it on our own? Is that a possibility, or you need a therapist for this?
Yes, there is an option available for that as well. As a matter of fact, we not only at our center administer hypnotherapy sessions, but we also teach the science. So
Okay.
in our workshops, when we are teaching in the basic level, there are a lot of exercises that you can practice on your own self. There is
Okay.
also something which is known as self-hypnosis. Self-hypnosis basically trains you as a person so that you are dependent on yourself, and you can practice the same exercise on yourself from the comfort of your home or wherever you are, and it will give you excellent results as well.
Okay. So I have seen your Instagram handle and Facebook. I check your updates. So you people do a lot of workshops, lot of sessions, online sessions are going on. So friends, I'm gonna link all the
Yes.
Instagram handles and Facebook of Zinnia and the organization. And you, if you want to go for it, if you want to have any kind of these sessions, you can follow the handle and contact her, right? So
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
okay, you did not answer my this question. Why do people are hesitant about seeing a therapist?
This is actually one of the main reasons why, after pursuing mental health from one of the best colleges, that's King's College, I did not want to stay in London. I chose to come back because even now in India, in our country, unfortunately, a lot of people have this massive stigma when it comes to therapy or seeking help. The person will not come for therapy because they feel that if I go to a therapist, the therapist will perceive me as mad, or only crazy people go ahead and take therapy, or I will be frowned upon in society if I go ahead and do this. So unfortunately, because of so much of stigma, people are very hesitant, they shy out. I've had so many clients who actually hide from their family members and come from therapy because, oh, if our family comes to know I'm taking therapy, what will they think? Or the mentality is still that you can snap out of it, or it's just a mood swing, whereas actually it's not. There's a lot more in-depth stuff that the person is not able to deal with by themselves. Just like that, we can take help for our emotional and our mental well-being also. It's not a big deal, but there is still that lack of awareness that's not
Yes.
present in people.
Not only the healer or the therapist, but the society around. If you tell this thing, then people see you. The perspective of the people change towards you from the moment you tell them that you are seeing a therapist or a healer or a doctor. So, right.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
There's one more question that I would like to put focus on. People who are out of the heartbreak or a strong relationship.
Yeah.
So they feel the pain, the sadness, the feeling after the heartbreak is a loser kind of feeling. So what do you advise for the teenagers? What should they do? I mean, it becomes very difficult for them to overcome this kind of feeling, right? Feeling of being
Absolutely.
rejected. So what exercise or what activities they can involve into, and then they can get rid out of it?
Right. So, like you said, it becomes very difficult for a teenager to, accept that loss of that heartbreak. They tend to feel like a failure. They tend to feel really upset and pain. So, few exercises that they can do that will help them come out of the heartbreak is, first of all, when they start thinking or when memories come up connected with that specific partner, look at that memory as a separate category. So instead
Okay.
of associating the pain or the trauma connected with it, think of the memory as having a good time, sharing a positive memory, and disengage that pain and trauma. How can they disengage that pain and trauma? Simple technique is just breathing in through their nose and
Okay.
exhaling out through their mouth. The more they do this continuously for at least a good 10 minutes or 15 minutes, it's going to rewire their brain and bring the focus of their brain back on the positive track. So that's one way that they can work around this. A second way that they can work around this is take a diary or a sheet of paper and write down absolutely everything that's been bothering them or affecting them, traumatizing them. After they've finished it, don't sit and reread what they've written, but immediately tear it off and burn it away. What this does is it's utilizing the brain and the body's complete senses as they are writing it down. So the body is able to vent and release out everything, and it's also engaging the brain to understand that that phase of life is now over and to move ahead. The key here is to be consistent. So if they've started doing it today, do it tomorrow, day after, do it for at least a good 20 days, 21 days regularly, as much detail as they can, tearing it all off. That gives a lot of relief. This is also something I give a lot of my clients. So it's a
Okay.
very tried and tested method, and it brings about great results.
Thank you. Thanks for such a wonderful advice. And this is a practice which everyone can do at their home. And I would really recommend to my audience, whoever is going through this pain, they can practice this thing for at least around, as Zinnia said, 20-21 days. And I'm sure you will get out of this pain. Okay, I would like to have your the way of your looking at things and your perception. What's happiness for you?
This is an excellent question. Happiness for me is having balance and being satisfied with everything I do. So, whether it's me talking with you here, feeling that immense sense of balance and satisfaction, or whether it's me doing a session with my client, or me giving a workshop, or me cooking my favorite dish, or dancing away because I love to dance, anything and everything, whether it's a big exercise activity or it's a small scale thing, a regular thing. Happiness for me is getting that perfect balance, balancing my energies out, making sure that I'm giving the best in everything and feeling that satisfaction. Because if
Okay.
today I don't feel that satisfaction, from everything that I'm doing, what is the purpose of even, doing any of this? It doesn't make sense, right?
Right.
Because this entire area is it's more of service, it's more of being useful to mankind. So if you're
Yes.
not happy, if you don't feel that satisfaction, I don't think you will be happy as well. I feel the two are very interconnected.
Okay. So why do people, I've seen like intelligent people, smart people, they are not happy? Why is it so?
Unfortunately, a lot of smart people tend to rationalize, tend to logically think, rethink, and get stuck in this vicious cycle of thoughts, which is
Okay.
why they don't end up feeling satisfied, which is why they feel that something is missing in their life, and it brings about sadness. So, a good way, to work around this is to stop yourself from thinking and getting stuck in that continuous loop and cycle of thoughts of being so overly critical, whether it's for your own self or others. And as a result, then instead of that, bringing in that satisfaction.
Okay. So staying contented, satisfied with whatever you are doing, staying in present is the key.
Absolutely, that's right.
3 tips that you would like to give.
Three
Just
tips
for
that
a
I would
just for
like
a
to
just
give
for a
that.
good life, feel good. 3 tips that you will advise everyone should go through. Yeah.
Okay. The first is self-care. Because if
Okay.
you can't take care of your own self, I don't think you can take care of others.
Okay.
And a lot of us give our entire lives out looking after others, but we don't take care of our own selves, and that
Right.
tends to burn us out. So it
Yes.
makes us physically unfit, mentally not balanced, emotionally sad, all of that. So self-care, first thing. Secondly, establishing healthy boundaries. So whether it's you communicating with your friend, or whether it's you communicating with your boss, or working on your own self, the more you establish healthy, good, positive boundaries, the more faster you're going to progress in life. So if there's something you don't like, convey that out. If there's something that you want to give priority to, convey that out. But you will only be able to do that if you establish a healthy boundary, and you don't allow people to take charge over you, or you don't
Yes.
allow
Yes.
people to intrude in your space. So that's the second one. The third one is maintaining a balance in life, because I feel that balance is very subjective. So
Okay.
for me, probably balance might be 3 hours of work and then 1 hour of engaging in my own activities, looking out for myself. For someone else, that might, differ. But the more balance we get in life, the better we're going to be able to not only progress in our own selves, look after our own selves, but we will be able to contribute better in every area of life, whether it's with our family members, with our friends, in our own health, in our work. All that will start going in much faster.
Right. Right. So the 3 tips that you gave was like first one self-love, second is setting boundaries, and third one is balancing. I feel that first and third is
Absolutely.
fine, but then second one, the boundary, setting up boundaries, this is something which people ignore. People don't feel also that this is important. So that's a very important point, that people need to set their boundaries, and they need to clarify. They need to tell people that this is something which I'm not liking or which I don't want to. Maybe you are dieting, then you can deny something which you don't want to have. So setting boundaries is one of the most important thing which you feel, which are the among the 3 that you advise. And I'm sure this was a real intelligent talk, and people would love to hear this, and there would be a lot of takeaways from this conversation that we had. It was really enlightening, and thanks for coming, thanks for joining us.
Of
And
course, it's my pleasure.
okay, would you like to give some detail about the organizations and what, like,
Sure,
from last
sure.
3 decades you people are involved into,
Yes.
your whole family is involved into, and working for the humanity. So please tell me, what is it in a short brief?
Sure. Yes, thank you so much for putting this across as well. Like you rightly said, I am the third generation in my family, and we have been providing healing services, modalities, training individuals and organizations since the past 3 decades. We specialize in a variety of therapeutic modalities, from of course hypnotherapy to Reiki, Pairavastu, Tarot, individual based, mindfulness based activities, art based therapy, counseling, CBT, and a lot more. Our purpose, basically, as an organization and of course, as individuals, is to help every individual find whatever it is, that obstacle or that barrier that's limiting them or hindering them in life, and helping each one progress ahead in a harmonious way. So, working through that barrier, healing it, and helping each individual grow ahead in life faster. So that's our purpose as an organization. Like you said, Vishal, we also provide a lot of events, whether it's through online or through face to face. We're also providing, for awareness, a lot of free events also. So please
Okay,
feel free to contact us. We will definitely help all and everybody who's interested to know more.
thank you, Zinia, thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much, Vishal. Thank you for including and first of all taking the courage out to talk about such an important topic. I feel it's very important to break this barrier when it comes to, seeking help and talking about mental health. So kudos to you for doing this wonderful, noble work. And I
Thank you.
really hope that more people, get involved in this. Thank you so
Sure,
much.
sure. Okay, thank you.